Adaptations are a thing. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Book to film adaptation, personally, I think is a chance for the written word to transcend one's imagination and be put on the silver screen for visual enjoyment. Makes sense, doesn't it? Certainly a bit more than a game to film adaptation. Taking the player out of the character and context of the interactable world of a game to tell a story. Usually the one from the game, it's a little hit or miss in some cases. It all really depends on who is telling the story. I've seen a lot of articles and discourse online about some adaptations of late, and I'd figured I'd throw my 2 cents in. All I want to do is share my perspective and feelings on some topics that are near and dear to my heart. There shouldn't be a great deal of in-depth analysis, but I make no promises. My friends get mad that I can't finish a thought, so I'm going to try my darndest to close off the circle by the end of it. First off, what do I think is a good adaptation? Well, it's relative, isn't it? Everyone has different tastes, opinions, views, experiences, and a whole load of things that shapes how they interpret the world. My view probably won't mesh with what you, the viewer, thinks or feels, which is fine. If everyone agreed on everything, this would be a pretty boring place. But anyway, adaptation. I'm going to talk about primarily 2 adaptations. The Martian book to film, and the One Piece manga anime to live action. I know there's a lot of adaptations out there, but these 2 are the ones I want to cover because A, I want to, and B, they're IPs I feel I have more than a passing knowledge of without doing an excessive amount of research, because I want this video out sooner rather than never. I will mention some IPs that have adaptations for reference, but on the whole, I'll only be talking about the ones I mentioned earlier by name. And there's a sneak peek of an adaptation coming sooner than I'd like. So, The Martian. Ironically, I don't really have a lot to say about this, which, funnily enough for me, makes it a good adaptation. The book was very clear in what it wanted to accomplish. Tell the story of a lone astronaut solving problems and surviving on the planet Mars. Guess what the movie was about? The story of a lone astronaut solving problems and surviving on the planet Mars. I might even go so far as to say that the film perfectly encapsulates the plot and themes of the book, which is great. It makes a fantastic adaptation. 10 out of 10. Now, I know that Netflix is a thing that exists, and I know that they have had a few stumbling forays into adaptations that might be considered ill-conceived. Because The Witcher sure is a thing. So was Cowboy Bebop. Problems with those shows being writing and audience reception, respectively. Honestly, the 2 shows that I think Netflix did really well with were The Cuphead Show and The One Piece live action. The Cuphead Show, by definition, is an adaptation. However, I disagree. Because when the credit says based on X or inspired by Y, along with the lack of input from the creator of the media it's being adapted from, doesn't necessarily inspire the feelings of true adaptation. Not to me, at least. It just feels like someone got the license and decided to make a series or film out of it. Like with the upcoming Avatar Last Airbender shit show! Now, before I go on a rant earlier in the video than I promised myself to, let's talk about the One Piece live action. It is, in a word, fantastic. The One Piece manga and anime have been in active production since 1997 and 99 respectively. That's a Sisyphean task to take on. Especially when the first season of the live-action show has to condense 45 episodes of plot into 8-hour-long episodes. Sorry for the math, but at roughly 20 minutes of content per anime episode, that's 900 minutes, give or take, of plot to put into 400 minutes. Not to mention 95 manga chapters. Time constraints aside, there was very little I have issue with. In order of most to least irking, fight choreography, line delivery, Marines. Let's tackle these one at a time. Fight choreography. When I say that, I mean the floating extras in the background waiting for their turn to fight, which isn't as egregious as, I don't know, the fucking Snoke guards versus Rey and Ren in The Last Jedi. Ugh. Sorry, I have opinions about the sequel trilogy for Star Wars that aren't applicable to this video, and if I ever have the courage, I'll address those. Maybe. But yeah, fight choreography, floating extras, that can be hand-waved. As for line delivery, some of the lines sound wrong. And that's not to say that the cast of Vopla isn't amazing. They seriously are. Fucking phenomenal beings, a lot of them. It's more to do with the lines themselves. It's painfully obvious that they'd sound better in the medium of anime. The cringe of hearing these words in this order coming out of a live person, it just doesn't feel right. Here, pause this video and go pull up a clip of an anime. Doesn't matter what, though the weirder it sounds, the better. Play it, watch it, internalize it. Now go to the bathroom, or any mirror, and look yourself in the eyes and say that line. Doesn't it feel weird? It's just... I personally believe that those of us that have watched anime for an unethical amount of time start to see performances differently in how animated characters deliver lines versus live action. Sure, there's also the translation to worry about, but there's this dichotomy between how the brain interprets words coming from specific sources. I believe that in... Where was I? Yeah, Marines. I'm just curious as to why we keep going back to Garp and Kobe's pursuit of the Straw Hats, when in both the anime and the manga, we don't see Kobe and Garp again until the post-Enies lobby arc. A whole lot of episodes after Garp takes Kobe and Helmeppo on his crew. I can understand for the sake of character introspection and elaboration for Kobe, but he gets that later in the series. Why the writers want to do it now... I don't know. I guess we'll find out on Opla Season 2. Oh, and one extra thing I just thought of. When Shanks protected Luffy from the Lord of the Coast, there wasn't as large of an impact on the scene. The vibe didn't feel as tense or hockey-infused, if you get what I'm saying. Then again, hockey isn't visible to those who can't use it, so... Holy sheesh, that was all the stuff I wasn't pleased about? Fuck. Well, how about the good stuff? I'll try to keep it short and to the point. In no particular order, the good stuff. Little to no special effects, and what little it was good and believable. Devil Fruits, of which we saw only 2, so keep a pin on that, looked like they belonged in the medium. It didn't look absurd, which is ironic considering how ridiculous things are in the One Piece world. But yeah, very little to no special effects. Everything was practical, from the makeup to the sets to building it to scale going Barry. It's amazing. Last thing is how the writers fitted the story together. Sure, some of the beats were out of order, but for the most part, it worked. The flow was a bit different, but didn't take away from the overall plot and theme of the show. Suffice to say, I'm really excited for Season 2. Okay, I feel the need to do a quick fire round of opinions before I get into the nitty-gritty that is the Netflix Atla live action. I will make a video, maybe, after I watch it, but considering the controversy around it now because Netflix and the showrunners just won't shut up about it, I feel the need to address it here. Ready Player One. Read the book, liked it. Didn't watch the movie, no opinion, probably won't ever unless given a really good reason to. Rings of Power. It sure was a thing. I watched it. It wasn't nearly as bad as I was expecting, but it wasn't great either. It was middling up to not meh. This kind of scoots past my interpretation of what an adaptation is, because while Rings of Power is based off the Silmarillion, the Tolkien family estate didn't give permission for it to be used as source material. And I haven't read that because I like having time to myself. Also, fuck you racists. Black elves and black dwarves are awesome, and Diesel will kick your fucking ass and will look great doing it. Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist. Oh my god, okay. Great anime. Both 03 and 08, though I prefer 08. Very not as great live action film. It just wasn't... I can't remember it, which is probably why it's bad, is because I blocked it out of my memory. But the one thing I can remember is that the humor just didn't work at all. So yeah, Full Metal Alchemist. Harry Potter. Fuck you, Rowling. Side note, why did Richard Harris have to die? I have nothing against Michael Gambon, but Harry, did you put your name in the goblet of fire? Isn't very... It just is... It's not very much the book. It's very much not. Halo, I can't make an informed opinion on this, despite the clear dumpster fire it appears to be from what I've seen through internet osmosis. Pass. Percy Jackson TV series. I've heard very good things about it, and in the words of Shrek, it's on my to-do list. Okay then. The big one. Now what about the M. Night Shyamalan? There was no M. Night Shyamalan in Ba Sing Se. Up front, this will probably be coming out before the live-action Avatar The Last Airbender airs on Derpflix, so keep in mind, this is all based on what the showrunners and actors have said in interviews. A friend wants to buckle down and watch it when it comes out, and I'll be reserving judgment until I see it. But until then, my first question is, why are you still talking? Seriously, over the course of a month, the showrunners of the live-action Avatar Last Airbender have been continuously giving reviews about what they're changing. I'll go in the order I personally found out about these choices. First, Sokka. Buddy, why do you look like the Ember Island Sokka? But seriously, folks, Sokka's sexism has been removed, which on the surface seems like a decent idea considering modern contemporary rationale. Sexism ain't cool. It just isn't. However, when you remove the sexist themes from Sokka's character, you're hindering character development. For an entire season and a half-ish, Sokka grew and matured after dealing with strong, powerful women, one of which is his sister. His younger sister. I know I said there wouldn't be in-deep analysis, but I feel it's required here. Sokka's sexism is born out of a need to escape his inadequacies. He is, until much later, the only non-bender of the group. He had to grow up as the man of the village, defending the Southern Water Tribe in the absence of his father and the other men. He had to grow up with a gifted, powerful sister who had to take on a mother-like role in the family. And guess what? He changed. Over the course of the series, he changes and he grows to appreciate the respect women use, and he's better for it. I don't know the reason the showrunners... That's supposed to say showrunners. Anyway, the showrunners have to back up their choice. Where is the reasoning? I don't. Sure, there's an article about the actors who play Katara and Sokka sharing their feelings on the sexism. And it clearly shows that they didn't watch much or any of the original show. So yes, sexism is cringe and uncomfortable to address. But I think, in this circumstance, it's even worse to deny it was even a thing. Okay, that was a bit heavy. Onto the lighter side of things. Kidding! Aang won't have side quests. He's gonna knuckle down and focus on the goal ahead and be a mature little 12-year-old. Excuse me? Pardon my French, but le canard! The whole reason the show was even a thing in the first place was because Aang was A, a 12-year-old, and B, you don't tell a 12-year-old that they're going to be separated from the only parental figure they have, and that they're the reincarnation of the most powerful being in the world, and expect him to be okay with it. Aang's whole deal is that he is trying to escape from his duty as the Avatar. It's why he was in the iceberg in the first place. It's why he makes pit stops all over the place. It's why it takes an entire season for him to get to the Northern Water Tribe. Granted, that was the plan from episode 2, but it took him 16 episodes to get anywhere near the North Pole. And, not to mention, in there, he's given a real good reason to step it up a bit. So again, I ask, why? Why do you feel the need to remove more character development and make it all gritty and grim? Oh, that's why. You want to make it more appealing to people who watched Game of Thrones. I'd pull up my chair and make this a little bit more intimate. However, my chair creaks and it would be terrible for my recording to pick it up. So I'm just going to stand here and say, why does everyone and their bank account want to make the next Game of Thrones? Why? Why? Why do you want to be the next show that seems pretty good for a few seasons and then absolutely shits the bed? I don't understand it. Why can't we have something, I don't know, new? This might be another video entirely, but I have to say here are all these live-action adaptations money-grabbing schemes. Of the live-action Disney films I've watched in the past decade, I cannot recall one that I enjoyed because it was live-action. And that's not to mention the ones that I have no interest in seeing, period. TLDW. Writers really need to get off their high horse if they're adapting something, and they need to make sure that the creators agree with the vision they have for the story being told. Hey, thanks for watching. This is my first video like this, and it shouldn't be the last, but who knows? I certainly don't. Only reason why I seem like I know what I'm talking about is because I rehearsed this. If you're interested in more discourse that's a lot more off the cuff and non-scripted, check me out on Twitch or on VStream, links in the basement. I play a variety of games and like to talk about things or perform monologues. I'll either see you over there or here again. Cheers!